is in fact on the second row of the grid, so Mark, a privateer from the Lincoln area, will have to certainly try very hard in the early stages to get with the quick men. And in pole position will be number 29, Neil Mackenzie, the talented young Scotsman on the factory Silverstone Armstrong machine. And the riders then coming underneath the Dunlop Bridge into the chicane. And there is one of our interesting new camera positions at Donington, the exit to Park chicane, and that promises to be a scene of some interesting and entertaining action in the races we've got here today. So a 10-lap race ahead of us. This is the 7th round of this season-long championship. A reminder that Mark Phillips, and there you can see, is the man who is in pole position. Neil Mackenzie trailing Mark Phillips by 16 points going into this particular race. Neil, in fact, has been in unbeatable form in the races he's done. Next to him is Donny McLeod. In fact, not next to him, because between those two Silverstone Armstrong riders are two other men. Number 31, Alan Jeffrey. He's a railway driver, a train driver from Melton Mowbray, number 31. And next to him is number 8, Kenny Irons. It will be a push start, so we're back to the Grand Prix type of getaway. No running engines. This will be a traditional push start. And 31, just a reminder, is Alan Jeffrey. So the front row of the grid is 29, Neil Mackenzie, the factory Silverstone Armstrong man. 31, Alan Jeffrey. Next to him, number 8, Kenny Irons. Number 22, Donny McLeod, and 60, Stephen Johnson. And the news is that it's pouring with rain on the far side of the track. Peter Clifford, that's going to be a real blow for some people.
Yes, because they're all on slick, untreaded tyres, and they're going to run into very difficult conditions halfway around the first lap.
Well, will they know? Will they realise it's going to be a nasty shock for them when they get round to discover it's rain? They're push starting, on they get to the machines. They hurtle down towards Redgate, and it's 31, Alan Jeffrey, to the left of your picture. Number 8, Kenny Irons, just going back, and it looks like Donny McLeod, Scotsman Donny McLeod, into the lead as they go into Redgate, down into Hollywood, and down the downhill slide into Craner Curves. And we're waiting to find where this wet patch is. We understood it's raining on the far side of the circuit. Donny McLeod in the lead at the moment, changing of the second and third position. Difficult to pick up who he was, but it's still definitely Donny McLeod out in front. Coming, and there's the one, the first and second men go down, and that's Donny McLeod, and there is the water we talked about, and Donny McLeod and second place man, number 30, that's Kevin Mitchell, both out. Well, you can see how carefully they're taking it now. That was a real shock, and they're coming underneath the Dunlop Bridge, coming around to complete the first lap. And here we can see again into Starkey's underneath the hairpin. Donny McLeod in the lead. Kevin Mitchell's in second. The bike just slides away in the water. Kevin Mitchell can do nothing about it. He too hits the water. Both riders perfectly okay. And in fact, 3 riders go down. Number 22, Donny McLeod. Number 30, Kevin Mitchell. And in fact, a 4th rider. So we'll try and figure out who went down. But disaster for Donny McLeod. But that leaves his teammate, Neil Armstrong, out in front at the end of that first lap. So Neil Armstrong, the man who is in pole position for the race, in the lead. Peter Clifford, a nasty incident on that opening lap.
Yes, as we watch Neil Mackenzie leading the 350 race now, it was the fact that they all had slick tyres, they got no tread pattern, and they do not grip hardly at all in wet, cold conditions, which they suddenly arrived at halfway around the circuit. And they're going to come to that corner now, but of course Mackenzie, who's in the lead on the Armstrong, is fully aware of how little grip there is available, and we expect to see him take it very, very carefully.
This is the spot where teammate Donny McLeod went down and out, and Neil Mackenzie takes a long look over his left shoulder to see where the opposition is. The opposition in the form of John Brindley, number 48, and then in third spot is number 80, Roddy Taylor, the young Scotsman. Well, Roddy Taylor, brother of the late Dougie Taylor, a very talented young man from Scotland, tragically injured. There was number 8, we saw Kenny Irons, not at all happy with the conditions, but really is tricky out there. A wet track in patches, and into the chicane. This is the different camera angle. There's Neil Mackenzie going through. Behind him, John Brindley and Roddy Taylor getting closer. 2 laps completed now. There's Lee bobbing and diving for position through the chicane, and Kenny Irons, I think, set to retire. He didn't look at all happy. There is the race leader, 2 laps gone. They're on their 3rd lap. Of course, we're on the dry section of the circuit. John Brindley, number 48, is in 2nd place, and number 80, Roddy Taylor, is in 3rd position, chasing on John Brindley.
Yes, and now, of course, the advantage that Mackenzie has out in the lead is that the 350 Armstrong is a very tractable machine, as we watch number 48, the 2nd place man, John Brindley, on his 350 Yamaha. Already losing ground to Mackenzie.
So number 80, that is Roddy Taylor, a young man who started racing on vintage motorcycles, then turned to proper racing motorcycles, had a couple of seasons on 125cc bikes. Line 30 is the current Scottish 350cc champion, and this is certainly his best ride down at Donington Park for a long time. Neil Mackenzie looks over his shoulder to see that John Brindley is right with him, but I've got a sneaking feeling that Neil has got a certain amount in reserve as Mackenzie peels off. Right and then left for the chicane. John Brindley behind him, then Roddy Taylor. 29 leading 48 and 80. In 4th position is number 38, that's Darrell Higgins, one of the Fowler-sponsored men. But there's Neil Mackenzie stretching the advantage already. This one is fairly easy. He looks over his shoulder just to make sure he's not dawdling too much. In many ways, a difficult ride for Neil Peter. He's taking it easy because of the conditions, but that's very easy to make mistakes.
It is indeed, because of course he's met with damp patches on 2 corners already, which brought 4 men down, and he doesn't really know where that rain shower has gone, and he might arrive around another corner in the circuit and found that it's rained there a few laps later. So he's really having to try and watch ahead, which is a very difficult thing to do. It's almost impossible to see a damp surface. It looks just like any other tarmac, and he'll be riding just as slow as he possibly can, and yet staying in front of the men chasing him.
So Neil Mackenzie coming round on his 4th lap in this 10-lap race, and we just had a quick look at the lap chart and can tell you that no sign of number 39, that's Mark Phillips, so perhaps Mark was one of those 4 riders to go down. Mark, of course, the championship leader. 15 points at stake in this particular race. So Neil Mackenzie looks set to come within 1 point of Mark Phillips after this particular race. 4 laps have gone. And of course the cheering thing is that the bike that Neil Mackenzie is riding is virtually all British. Almost every nut and bolt on it. The engine is entirely British. The frame and cycle parts are almost all British, and so it's a really good thing to see this bike out in front. So there's the leader going through, Neil Mackenzie, so far without a single World Championship point to his credit, and that is not meant in any way as a criticism. Neil has been impressive in several races, but he of course is finding himself amongst the very best riders in the world on the Grand Prix trail. But he and his Silverstone Armstrong teammate Donny McLeod have committed themselves extremely well indeed. They've stuck down hard to the work that's been asked of them, and eventually that hard work will pay off. I'm sure there's going to be World Championship points before the season is out for this young man, Neil Mackenzie.
Yes, and this bike, the Armstrong, is very similar, the 350 that he's riding now, to the 250 he rides in the Grand Prix. The cycle parts are very similar, although the engine is different.
So, as Neil Mackenzie comes into the chicane, let's have a look at the dice between John Brindley, number 48, and young Roddy Taylor. Well, this is where the interest lies, and Roddy Taylor's getting down behind the fairing. 5 laps have gone, it's the halfway stage, and Roddy Taylor's pulling out. Roddy Taylor's having a go, and the young Scotsman, 21-year-old Roddy Taylor, dives inside. Another talented young man, John Brindley, they're side by side, and has Taylor got the better line? Well, Brindley, a very brave, forceful ride there, kept going hard at it and held off the challenge from Roddy Taylor. And John Brindley, of course, a very interesting young man, 23 years of age, and his brother Barry Brindley, which you'll be seeing in action in the sidecar race a little later today here on World of Sport. and of course their father, Fred Brindley, one of the great characters of British road racing, was a competent sidecar man, to say the very least, in his days. Well, his son, John Brindley, holding second position at the moment as Roddy Taylor gets a new lease of life. He obviously lost some ground there when Brindley held off that challenge, but he's coming back again, getting closer.
And it was a very confident piece of riding from Brindley, because as he had the outside line, he stuck to his guns bravely, and with Taylor underneath him, Taylor couldn't accelerate because Brindley was holding the better line as they exited the corner. But it'll be interesting to see now that Taylor's closing up here. That's Brindley leading Taylor, and see if Taylor tries a different sort of manoeuvre. They're coming down to the same corner where he tried to pass him last time.
No, he's trying exactly the same thing. It's on the inside. Roddy Taylor having to brake, but Brindley's got the measure of him. Brindley holds off the challenge from Roddy Taylor. John Brindley holding second place. Roddy Taylor, bike number 80, there in third position, as Neil Mackenzie, the race leader, continues to pull away. 6 laps completed in this 10-lap Shell Oils 350cc challenge, a round of the British Promoters Championship. Roddy Taylor not giving up the gap between the race leader, Neil Mackenzie, and second place man, John Brindley, 7.4 seconds. So Mackenzie has really started to open up the gap between himself and this dice here, but Taylor, I'm sure, has not given up. Maybe he's holding something back in reserve. Very canny young Scotsman is the man Roddy Taylor. Interesting to see whether he will try a different approach next time round or in the closing stages, Peter.
He has to try something slightly different. We saw him, then he tucked in behind Brindley coming into the corner there instead of diving all the way up the inside. So he's now watching the man ahead. There's Taylor chasing Brindley and watching him very closely to try and pick another position to try and pass him.
Into the chicane, yet again. They're coming round to complete their 7th lap. 48, John Brindley. Number 80 is Roddy Taylor. They're battling for second and third place. Brindley looks over his shoulder, so too does Roddy Taylor, to see whether the fourth man's catching him. And the fourth place man at the moment is struggling a long way behind, and that's Ian Newton. Well, that's a talented and impressive ride from Ian Newton, who broke his collarbone in a horrific looking accident at the TT some time ago, well, a couple of weeks ago in fact, and Ian Newton's done very well to come bouncing back. Ian Newton there, number 49, lying in 4th position in the race. He's in 5th position in the championship table, and he's on an Armstrong 2. And back with the leader now, one of the factory Armstrong riders, the Silverstone Armstrong duo. We've seen his teammate Donnie McLeod go out, slid off without injury when 4 men went out on the opening lap, caught out by a shower of rain. The track appears to have dried out after that little downpour we had. There's the gap. You can see the whole length of the straight. There is the race leader going through the chicane. We're back again now with this big dice. The battle between John Brindley and Roddy Taylor. They're coming round to complete 8 laps now.
And if Taylor actually has anything in hand, he'd better show it soon, because he's only got 2 laps to do it in. And it may be that Brindley had the big extra, and when he was spurred on by Taylor's passing manoeuvre, he's in fact put up the pace a little bit, and Taylor cannot reply. But it'll be very interesting to see over this next lap what the Scot can do.
10.8 seconds the gap between the race leader Neil Mackenzie and this man, number 48, John Brindley, who is in 2nd spot. Behind him, battling away hard, is number 80, Roddy Taylor, the Scottish 350 champion, having a go with John Brindley, one of the Marlborough Club stars. And there's John Brindley, a big man for a 350, tall, broad, certainly holding off the lighter man behind. We're coming round now on the 9th lap. The charge down the back straight between them and the chicane, and then Roddy Taylor will have just 1 lap to pass Brindley, and that's really asking him an awful lot. Brindley coming very quick into the chicane. You see what pace they come into the chicane. Hard over both ways, and then Roddy Taylor, chin on the tank. There's Neil Mackenzie. He's the race leader. He's on his last lap. There's Mackenzie down through Craner Curve.
And we have to consider, of course, that it was very perhaps fortunate for the Armstrong team that the positions on the first lap were as they were, with Mackenzie, who's their best point scorer, down in about 4th place, and McLeod leading, because it was McLeod who found the damp patch, fell off, and just in time for Mackenzie to see it and knock the throttle back, brake a little bit earlier, and go through the corner 10% slower.
Well, that's true dedication and sacrifice from Donny McLeod, laying down his motorcycle for the sake of his teammate Neil Mackenzie, and Mackenzie taking advantage of seeing Donny's misfortune to avoid the debris and the fallen riders, and he's now just got a few 100 yards left into the final chicane. This is the last lap of this 350cc race, and Neil Mackenzie is going to win it. 15 points in the bag, and that will take him to within 1 point of championship leader Mark Phillips. So Neil Mackenzie, a splendid victory. And here's the battle, and Ronnie Taylor's got in front. Can Brindley do anything about it? And there is the sprint to the line, and it's very close indeed, but Ronnie Taylor held on. He snatched second place from John Brindley on the last lap. So a tremendous ride there from Ronnie Taylor, bike number 80, going ahead of John Brindley on bike number 48 on the last corner, held off the challenge back at the chicane, and also held off Brindley's effort to get him on the line itself, and Brindley's bike certainly looked a lot quicker. And there is Neil Mackenzie. Well, he's got every reason to be pleased with himself. An excellent ride. Tremendous performance. Mackenzie, who waves his hand, he's now within 1 point of the championship leader Mark Phillips, and we can see another slow motion manoeuvre there. Roddy Taylor going round the outside, slotting in front of John Brindley very bravely indeed. Brindley, of course, still on the better racing line, and a wave there from Neil Mackenzie. And this is the sprint to the line. You can see Brindley's bike is quicker, gets closer and closer and closer. Very little in it, but it was Taylor who held on. So the result then, Mackenzie the winner, Roddy Taylor second, John Brindley in third. Back to Dickie Davis in the studio.
Yes, that really does confirm it. A very easy win for Neil Mackenzie, the former champion, last year's champion. Roddy Taylor snatching that second place finally through the chicane, and John Brindley in third place. Now,
Shell Oil's Sidecar Challenge